Shalom, shalom. Brother Hemi here. And today there's a couple topics I was thinking about. Um, but for now, I'm going to see how it goes. Let's talk about death, right? Like the perception of death, or I guess you could say overall perception of death, and then liken it to like sleep. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard all sorts of things about, when people die, there's an afterlife. Some people think there's nothing. Some people say reincarnation. But I'm not talking about all of those other things. Right now, what I'm talking about is like the moment death happens, and then like what I believe will happen. So, or what I believe that experience feels like. And I will tie in what I believe when it comes to this. So, if you guys could recall, when you were born, right? Well, can you even recall that? Some people can't recall that. So it's like before you're even on this earth, you have no recollection. You don't sense time, space, matter. So I liken the same way that with death. Death is like birth in a sense, like of how it feels, or the experience, at least. Um, so when you're birthed, you have no recollection from before, and when you die, it's almost like if there is any time that passes by, you don't have a recollection of that either. Now, this is a theory, of course. This is what I think happens. When people say lights out, it really is that. So the reason why I say this is because when someone loses consciousness, whether in a coma or not, fainting, when they get back up, they don't realize what happened. They don't realize the time. They don't realize what symptoms, if someone's having a seizure or whatever. People don't have that. They just black out. So when your consciousness is blacked out, I guess you could say, you don't have that recollection of time. So it's considered to me to be like sleep, like what Jesus said death was. Um, I know other people, okay, so maybe I will dive in a little bit in that. Some people think, my loved ones are looking down from above. If they are probably, this is going to get trippy. They are probably sometime in the future because they exist out of space, matter, and time. So they're looking down onto you at the current moment, but they are already translated. Now that's a possibility. The other possibility is there is really no one else there right now, and there is a specific time for things to happen, according to our time. But I either way, it doesn't really matter because death is like slumber because consciousness is lost. And when consciousness is lost, there is no recollection of time, space, and matter. Um, Now, what happens, after that exactly, I can't say that for every single person because there's different theories on that. Um, the brain, I think, is still sort of active. I hear like listening is still a thing. But, I mean, so whether something happens or the person begins to think and they're going to this place, place of solace from what they knew of life, some people think that. I don't necessarily think that. I will, tell you that from the Bible, it says that once it is appointed for man to die and then face God. So in the time frame that happens, I don't even know if time is even a thing, like I said, because once you leave this world, once you go to that so said slumber, once you go through death, like all the worries and the things of the world, it doesn't matter anymore. That's gone. There, you move on. Now, the sentiments of those looking down onto you and praying for you, let's say, right, let's use this, right, from heaven. Perhaps, like again, like I said, I think that could be, there could be a strong case for that if a man is appointed to die and then face God, and then after they face God, they're either put, they're separate from God or they're with God, and then they're able to do that a from a perspective of being above the natural, above time. But yeah, I always found death like in the reincarnation circles, people will say, well, their death is necessary to have new life. But the problem with that, um, this might be more. It could be, the problems can sound relative, but there could be a subjective problem too with that. Like, how do you even know that's certain? Like, how do you know that you will be reincarnated? Even if you have deja vu moments, those deja vu things, you could have gotten that from dreams. You could have gotten that from just images like burning in your head, from just all other sorts of things, visions, even if you ever had such a thing, or trance, or if one ever did, even drugs, shrooms, LSD, all that. So it's like, I believe there is an objective reality compared, to what other people think, that it's, you know like a matrix. And if you know what, to a certain regard, they might be right. Like, this reality is reality, but it's not really the actual real reality. So we can feel with our senses, we can live, we can feel tired, we can have pleasure, but what is the precursor to that, right? Or what is above that? It's just, so I'd say it's good food for thought. I would say, yeah, these are the kind of topics that I think about. I don't think about this too much because I kind of feel like, hey, it's kind of a thing that everybody finds out. But I do think that yeah, like death is like slumber, whether it's painful or not. What led to the death, that's a different case. Some is quick, some is very painful and slow. That's different. But I do believe that death is likened to sleep, and that what happens there afterwards, besides any subjective or relative ideas, people will find out. And I don't know if your brain, or what you thought, or what you want to shape your afterlife to be, or your non-existential life to be, is going to happen. Nor, I mean, you could also argue that maybe what I think that's going to happen based on the word of God isn't going to happen, but you know, we'll find out. But I'd rather see, this is where it goes back to me, like sharing the gospel, is I'd rather think about these things now, and it be well with me, so when that event does happen, if it does happen, then I know, then I'm not fearful, you know. So anyways, shalom, shalom. This is just a great food for thought topic, and you can let me know what you think on the comments below. You can tell me if I was spitting facts or if I was just like out my rocker. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.